Just doing last month.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And we'll move to roll call.
Mayor Minnie.
Here.
Brenneman.
Here.
Keel.
Here.
Monahan.
Here.
O'Hara.
Here.
Jones.
Here.
And Randall is absent with notice.
Do we have any changes to the agenda? So look for a motion to approve.
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda.
Second. Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed or abstaining? Okay, we got minutes from 8:18 and from 8:26. Good for motions on each of those probably separately.
Motion to approve minutes from 8:18.
Second. Discussion? All in favor?
Abstain. Yeah, I was good.
And what do you say?
say aye then. So we got four that will pass it, so I'll say aye. Mark's gonna abstain.
You sure? All right.
Yeah.
All right.
I don't want it to go down in flames, so I'll say 18, because I was not here that night either.
All right, do we have a motion for budget meeting on 8/26?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes from 8/26.
Second. Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. And we don't have bills submitted for payment. So, a minute for public comment and any non-agenda items. I don't think we're gonna have anybody there. So, we'll move to Amy and pool report.
Good evening. We had a great season considering it's been an unusual year. Our guards this year were Jocelyn Jardine, McKenna Sigmiller, Ellie Anderson. Those three were also lifeguards last year. Chase Carson, Hannah Jones, Ellie O'Fine, and Grace Durband were new this year. Hannah Jones also assisted me as assistant manager along with Charlie Bird. Due to the consistently warm weather, we had awesome attendance. We sold 198 family passes and 55 individual, which is down from the years past, but I'm guessing it's because we started late and people weren't sure if they'd get in. So, as I noticed last year, it was a little bit higher than this year, and I just figured because we had half capacity, so I'm guessing people weren't sure if they'd get in, so they didn't want to buy as many. But we did have some from other towns buy. We have a few from Brandon that bought passes, so a little bit different. 25 pool parties were scheduled for the season, which is, I think, higher than normal. 5 daycares were scheduled to come for morning swim 1 day a week. And I always kind of allow Fridays open to just the public, just so we have 1 day where it's just not for daycares. We have 2 on Mondays. Christ Lutheran was Tuesdays. Stepping Stones was Wednesday. Thursday was Imagination Station. So it was nice, and they just came in the mornings. Last year I tried to split them up and do a group in the morning just because, we tried to cut down how many came. So this year we just strictly did morning swim. We made some accommodations due to the COVID guidelines. Our guards and managers did a great job monitoring kids, cleaning, sanitizing, just to keep everyone safe. lifeguards also executed 7 rescues and 1480 procedures. Our Tyler did a fabulous job getting us ready for the season. We had a drill right before we opened, which I always try to do it before, just so they're a little comfortable of what's to come. Barb has been giving her time and expertise ever since I've been doing this, so I thank her for always being there when we need her. She executed 6 drills throughout the 3 months we were open, and one, this year we also did a spinal drill, just in case of, neck injury or whatever, fall or whatever. We only offered 1 session in July for swim lessons due to the COVID, and that was pretty successful because there was only 1 session, so it was pretty full. Our season came to a close the 16th because we started school the 20th, and it's just hard that last week to everybody kind of wants a little break. So I want to thank all my guards and assistant managers for their work and dedication. Thank you guys for everything you guys do for us and for opening this summer. I've heard from so many people they were happy we opened, and I am too. It's just awesome for the kids to have something to do, people to go to work. So thank you for opening, and we were lucky that we got to stay open because I know other pools unfortunately had to close. Any questions or from you guys?
I don't know, I don't have questions, but, thank you for everything you did and your flexibility of
Yeah.
opening when we did, and Teresa and the team on helping to find lifeguards, because that was the hard part for a lot of communities, was to find lifeguards
Great.
that late in the game and get things going. Craig Screw to get it up and going and running when we didn't think we were gonna have it at all. Kind of took it off our slate, so I think it was a huge bright spot for the city this year that we got it.
It was an awesome order, so it was high. I mean, even with half capacity, we're still over 100 almost any day that was warm. So it was a good turnout. We had a good season. Thank you. Any other questions?
Thank you.
All right. Have a good day.
Thanks a lot.
Thanks, Amy.
Application hearings and hearings. We'll start with the 705 rezone hearing and first reading of ordinance 692 for lots 5 and 6, block 3 of Western Meadows Edition.
This rezone request has been submitted by, like I said, in Western Meadows Edition. It is for 2 lots that are going to be platted on the corner of Opal and Trojan, right on the northeast corner. And there's a map in your packet of it. Currently, they're zoned community commercial, but they want to rezone them to residential, which is a downward zoning. There's residential to the west of it and to the south of this land, and there's nothing right now to the east or the north. Bonnie Mogan is here with Western Meadows, but they went to P&Z last week, and they voted to recommend rezoning the lots for them.
Anything else to add, Bonnie?
I don't.
No?
Make a motion to approve.
Got a motion to approve?
Second.
Discussion?
He's gonna put single family in or such a plan now?
Yes, there's really not, there's about half acre there, so I can get to the residential lots, and so we want to plat it, get 2 lots.
And they do have stub outs for services.
Are there?
Okay. Any other discussion? Vote. O'Hara? Keel?
Yes.
Bradley?
Yes.
Jones?
Yep.
And Monahan.
Yep.
Okay. And we're at 709 yet, so we're gonna jump down to second reading of ordinance 691, the amendment to the city's subdivision regulations. No changes from first reading?
There's been no
Everything's the same as
changes
what we
from
had
first.
in there?
Make a motion to approve second reading ordinance 691. Second.
Discussion. None? special events application for 2020 jamboree event. Just like I said, seemed like 2 days ago.
Almost was, that's what, 6 days ago.
Right?
We submitted the application for the special event for Jamboree Days, a little late this year, like we mentioned. We're looking at one-day event, September 26th. You should have had the flyer in your packet. We're looking at doing a car show, a burnout, and a street dance. That's it. We did go around with some local vendors for food, but we're not going to reach out and do any type of other vendors because we obviously don't want too many in the park. We're not doing a ton of advertising. We're putting it out more on our local Facebook. So anybody who's a Facebook member for Hartford Jamboree can see it. We're going to do just like the local paper in it, an interview. They're going to run something. But other than that, we're really not broadcasting that loudly. We're cut back as far as like we didn't go with a huge name band. We went with a more local band that's a little bit more fun. They have a little bit more variety. So just trying to keep it kind of low-key, but still with an opportunity for people to come out and still enjoy it. We are also looking at, for the car show, to do it a little differently, and we're short on numbers for the committee members. So just for the fact that some are uncomfortable participating and some are out of town. Obviously, this is not our planned one, so if you made plans, like I said, don't change your plans so that you can be, family and vacation right now is huge for people to still take that. So we encouraged anybody that either didn't feel comfortable to be part of it or that was out of town to continue with their plans. So we're short on numbers for the committee, but we're still positive that we can do it with the numbers that we have. However, with registration, we're not wanting to do classes. We're looking at doing more of a mayor, if you're going to be there, maybe a mayor's choice. So these are going to be like overall choices. Maybe a council choice, if any of you council members would like to. You guys can definitely, we can do a council choice. I just need to know so we can have a plaque for it, that you guys would pick your favorite. We also are looking at, we spoke with Al showed up at our meeting last night, potentially doing maybe a visionary choice to incorporate the Envision 2025 group as well. And then obviously we'll do a driver's choice. Drivers always like to have that option. And then we do have some sponsors that still want to sponsor the event. So with our sponsors, we're also going to allow them to do a sponsors event. And then we're going to check with the Senior Citizens Center to see if they also maybe want to do, they're going to ask the people that are part of the Senior Citizens Center to come out and do a senior's choice. So a little bit different, but that way you don't have the long lines of the registration table and we don't have a bunch of people kind of standing in the line for that. We're looking at changing where we park them, staying kind of where we're at, but it was brought up last night, maybe use more of the park since it's been a drier year. Craig didn't think there would be any issues with the park. Obviously, that'll be evaluated up to even the day of the event. If we get a big rainstorm, we'll cancel that. We'll just start moving them out into the street. Try to spread them out a little bit more. We do have more bleachers that we'll have this year availability because Lyle's races will be done by then, so he can bring some of his in to try to help that area. We're going to have hand sanitizers. We're going to spread out the beer. We're going to make it a little bit wider choice. Just trying to, for as much as we can, to try to still, separate people and to just keep it somewhat safe in that regards too. See, we're looking at potentially also, I know in the past we've always asked for, if we can ask some city help, our city workers like Craig and his team. I know Craig wanted me to add that, so getting that in there. And then also the appropriation, like I mentioned, it was discussed as well, and we're only looking at like $5,000. That would basically cover the bands and insurance, and that's about it. Questions?
No, nice job pulling an event together quick here before summer's.
We've met.
I mean, summer's over, but still, to be able before the year's out, before you can't do anything. And accomplish some fun things. Is your official ask $4,000 or $5,000? Okay. Yep. And the application and all of that. So
Beer in the park and on Main Street, right?
Yes, yep. We'll do beer in the park and then we'll move it down here for the committee, and it's just the committee as well. Downtown, I know that Southborough
to, now he's got a goal, he wants to be open by the 26th, so.
We're gonna have it fenced off, so we'll just be in the fenced off area for drinking. We're, in the past, it's pretty much been citywide, so we want to restrict it, yeah,
Yeah.
and just have it just inside the fenced area for the, street dance.
And for the park, just keeping it in the park.
Yep, or inside barricades, something like
That's good.
We have changed some of the security. I know in the past we've gone with the witch hunt. They're still gonna have 2 people assist us with carting. So they're gonna help with the carting, but we did go with, forget the name of it, I think it's Asset Protection. It's Ty Elbers.
Okay.
They are all retired military and or police. So they have a better working relationship. We pray we don't have to worry about it, but with what's going on in the world today, I want to try to make sure we're as safe against anything that's going on as we can potentially be. So we do have a little bit different security setup this year at the street dance as well because of that. And I know you talked to Captain Walsh about having,
Yeah, having extra deputies from the sheriff's department here that day as well.
we're trying to cover all of our bases and try to keep the community safe, but still be able to have something for the community to get out and enjoy before it gets cold and we all get cooped up in our houses and
Right. That would be nice to say we didn't have to cancel, we just had to postpone it, so.
postpone and scale back.
Yep.
I know we've had a lot of asks about kids stuff. There's really not a lot you can do that we guarantee that it gets sanitized. I can't have inflatables because I can't guarantee the people in there cleaning it all the time. So,
Understand, yeah, mostly,
and our community's only as big as we are, so.
Yep.
I'll make a motion to approve the application for the Hartford Jamboree Committee for their one-day event on September 26th and waive the fee.
Second. Discussion? We'll vote. Brennan?
Yeah.
Keel?
Yes.
O'Hara?
Yes.
Monahan?
Yeah.
And Jones?
Yes.
And
Did we already use the ones?
Oh, did they have their money? No.
No, we don't have it.
That's not on the agenda, is it, Teresa?
No, I didn't realize they were gonna ask for the money tonight. They didn't put it with their application, sorry. I tried to call you on Friday, but
So we
it didn't work out already.
Can we not do it tonight,
Do we
Teresa?
need to do that on the 15th?
Huh?
I mean,
We can do it on the 15th.
will that be all right?
Yeah, that should be fine. We're
Let's
still.
get it on
I
there.
got-
Yeah.
And then for you guys, Mayor, are you willing to wanna do
Yep.
Mayor's Choice?
I'm free, yep, I just looked at my calendar, I just put Jamboree days in for the weekend, so if you need help, and I'm willing to do your choice too.
Awesome. How about the committee? Are you guys up to have any committee's choice?
Plan on being there, I guess, with the vision stuff going on, so.
Might as well. I'd say we could probably come up with something. As long as there's a few Fords there, we'll be all right.
Those will be the ones on the trailer.
What's that?
Those will be the ones on the
On
trailer.
the, on the what? They'll already be on the what? Oh, that's terrible.
Alright, well, I will be back in 2 weeks then.
All right.
Alright, I have to go to work.
Thanks,
Sounds
man.
good, thanks
Thanks,
Leah.
guys.
Yep,
Have a
thank
good
you.
night.
Alright, next item, we got first reading of ordinance 693, the 2021 appropriation ordinance from the work a week ago.
I'd make a motion to approve ordinance 693, 2021 appropriations. Second.
Discussion?
This is just a recap of everything we already discussed and
Yep, so basically, all of the motions that we did at our budget meeting, you know, the expenses, they've been added into this ordinance. The only thing I kind of changed with the structure, not the amounts, is that all of the federal grants, like, all the grant for the sports complex shelter is going through the sports complex fund. We're not gonna filter it through the general and then to the sports complex, so it's less confusing. Same thing with the generator, it's all through the sewer. But it's the same, yeah,
dollar amounts.
right. With the current.
Other questions or discussion? Alright, we'll vote. Monahan?
No.
O'Hara?
Yeah.
Alright, and we're gonna move down to resolution 2020-10, which is the annual street maintenance fee. We've got correspondence in front of us on that, and Teresa may have any sort of recap or any questions on that, I guess, too.
So basically, last year we started implementing a street maintenance fee, and it's $1 a foot on any front footage. Before we implemented, we had discussed, what properties were gonna be included, what weren't, basically, and then we kind of reviewed what other cities did. Basically, we went with, every parcel in town, developed, undeveloped, whether it's a nonprofit or not, gets assessed this fee, city ground included. So, Karen basically does the spreadsheet, and, every single parcel that's in the roll book gets assessed that fee. We put, it's $1 a linear foot, and, there's a minimum though of $65, because remember we talked about some of those, multi-unit ones have a small frontage to go a long way, but we split it up between everyone for a minimum of 65. So we kept that same policy, so that's what this ordinance reflects, or this resolution reflects. If you guys wanna change that, you may, but this is basically keeping the same policy, that $1 a foot of what we passed last year. And like I said at budget time, it doesn't, it's a good revenue source for us, and it's a good thing that we implemented. Almost every single city around here has it. If we wouldn't, like I said, this doesn't even though cover our slurry fill at this point in the project. So it's definitely a revenue source that we need for the city, so.
Alright, other discussion, any comments?
I'd like to address the letter we have.
Yeah.
I understand Mr. Haugen's, how do I say this? I understand the angle that he's coming from, because the property is not facing a city street. But in my mind, because I'll get two assessments. And I think you can either think of it as that assessment is to take care of the street that is in front of my address, or I can think of that as that assessment is to help maintain every street in this city. Because in order to get to my street, I have to use every other street. And if you live in a property that is facing a state or county highway, I think it's unreasonable to think that you don't travel on any other street in this town. So, I appreciate him writing the letter, I just don't agree with his, assessment, I guess.
And he was in a couple weeks ago, and we kind of talked about that, and it's like, and I kind of had the same viewpoint, is that this isn't to pay for, the street right in front of your property. Basically, it goes into a pool that maintains all city streets that everybody uses, like I said, going into, to and from your property, and to and from businesses, and, it's going more of a general pool to help fund maintaining of all city streets. So, which he understood that too, I just think, So like his letter said, he wasn't against the assessment, he just said he has undeveloped ground, and so he was wondering if we would maybe do a different rate for that.
I'm gonna make a motion to approve first reading of ordinance 693. Or no, 2020-10.
Yeah.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, more discussion?
It'd be helpful if you would have specifically addressed this parcel so we could look at it.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna spend a lot of time hunting around for it.
Yeah. Yeah, that's, yeah. I mean,
Where is it?
I should know what these highway numbers are. But I didn't.
I'm trying to think, is he in North Community?
Well, you don't have to spend any time looking for it.
No.
I'm just saying,
Yeah.
addresses a lot of stuff, but it doesn't really tell us the parcel.
Which one his parcel?
Correct,
Yeah,
correct,
exactly.
correct.
Yeah.
Up north there.
Yeah.
I wasn't aware of that.
Alright, further discussion? Keel,
Yes.
Brenneman.
Yeah.
O'Hara,
Yes.
Monahan,
Yeah.
and Jones.
Yes.
Community second.
Alright, next up, we got resolution 2020-11, the transportation alternative grant application.
This resolution is basically in conjunction with the application we put in for the phase 6 of our bike trail. And it's part of the application process that we're basically telling the state that, you know, if granted the funds, we are going to, you know, definitely contribute our share of the portion there, that we will put in the trail, that we will maintain the trail. And so, like I said, it's just part of the application package that they want the city to say we are committed, that if we receive the grant funds, we will move forward with, you know, our portion of it and maintaining it.
I'll make a motion to approve first reading of resolution 2020-11.
Second.
Okay, discussion.
And
It's not
these
first
funds,
reading, it's just a resolution.
it's just.
Oh, it's not, sorry.
Yeah, no. And just so you know, these funds are in the bike trail committee's account,
In the
so
account right now.
they are budgeted, we do have them in the reserve under the bike trails account.
Who was that second?
I was.
You can take my first reading out, I'm sorry. I got a lot of excuses I won't get here.
You always have.
Are you heavily medicated? Because of your back.
Alright, any other discussion? Alright, Jones,
Yes.
Monahan,
Yeah.
Brenneman.
Yep.
O'Hara,
Yes.
Keel.
Yes.
Alright, and we got resolution 2020-12, for unclaimed property.
This resolution, basically, our auditors will always want us to watch what money we're carrying, or unclaimed money we're carrying on our books. And so every year we go to see what checks out that we have issued that haven't been cashed and that we're carrying on our books. And so this year we had a couple of them sitting out there that were over a year old. We always send out a letter, try to contact those people. We did get hold of one of them. They misplaced or lost the check, so we voided that one, reissued it. We cannot get a hold of this Hartford Auto. So what we want to do is approve this resolution so we can send them that money to the state for the unclaimed property, and then we can take it off our books.
Motion to approve resolution 2020-12.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed or abstained? Move to the Deputy County Sheriff's report. Deputy, how do you pronounce your last name?
Cardis.
Cardis, sorry, I haven't met you yet.
Yeah, we have a whole spiel about last month of how you can remember it, but we're not going to go into your fellow councilman can but my name's Damien. I'm happy to be here and welcome. Let's kind of go over this. August was a super busy month for the sheriff's office, and also in Hartford, as you can tell. If you look at like the total calls, like we increased by 2 calls. Went from 8 to 8 calls for service, about 10 calls of service here in Hartford. So it was, I would say, a pretty busy month within the county and also here in Hartford as well too. So we'll just kind of go down the list. So security checks, we had 7, which was a decrease of 5. The reason that, I don't know what's going on with our night deputies, not trying to make excuses, but I think they kind of got lazy and went to checking like the parks and stuff and making sure that they're locked, kind of a thing. And that hasn't been addressed, so we'll see what happens next month. Medical calls, if you volunteer with Hartford Fire, you know that was also a busy month as well too, in a busy summer. We had 14 medical calls, which was an increase from 6 from last month. Traffic stops, we had 104 with an increase of 10. Out of those, 24 citations, 41 written warnings, and 39 verbal warnings. Follow-ups, we had about 16 of those, which is an increase of 3. Neighbor disputes, we had 1, which was the same from last month. Civil paper services, we had 15, which was an increase of 7. Public assist, we had 11, which was a decrease of 7. DUIs, we had 1, which was the same. Parking violations, we had 4, which was the same as well too. Family disputes, we only had 1, which was a decrease of 4. Sheriff office landlines, we had 16, which was an increase of 1. We had no assaults. We had 5 abandoned vehicles, which is an increase of 1. Suspicious vehicles, we had 3, a decrease of 1. Suspicious activity, we had 7, increase of 5. Disorderly subjects, we had 0 this month, which was a decrease of 4. Traffic accidents, we only had 2, which was an increase of 1. Warrant services, we had 5, which was a decrease of 1. Runaways, we had 1, which was the same. We had 7 larceny reports, which was an increase of 6. That was of the string of vehicle break-ins that we had early August that we had, so that was a pretty busy Friday for me. Vandalism, we had 2, which was same from last month. Noise dispute or noise disturbances, 2, which was an increase or decrease of 3. Burglary alarms, we only had 1, which was a decrease of 2. And fireworks, we only had 1, which was a decrease of 4. Dog bites, we only had 1. Check well-beings, we had 7. We had 2 stolen vehicles, only one was an actual stolen vehicle, which we first got called in as like a vehicle loan not returned, so you let like so-and-so borrow your car and they never returned it, and the investigation turned out that it was actually stolen, so. Confined animals, so that's just dogs and pets just walking about or hanging out without a leash, we had 4 of those, 3 standby to pick up properties, 2 burglary calls, which didn't really turn into burglaries, and then total arrest in Hartford, we had 5, which was the same from last month, and we had 15 total written case reports, which was an increase of 5. And like I said at the beginning, the total calls for service, including deputy initiated, was 326, which was an increase of 59. And that was a 10.7 calls of service per day in that 30-day sort of thing. And a lot of, Phil was a really good kind of proactive guy, and I've been kind of the same as well too. Along with Deputy Smith, who's our new school resource officer, he's been really getting at it with traffic stops around the school. And so that man's running tickets like his job, it's crazy. He'll pull over 5 cars and he'll give me 5 tickets to head on back to the office with. I'm like, holy cow, new big tickets. So so that's our biggest focus for the kickoff of the school year, is that school zone and stuff. So just making sure drivers are being safe and with the kids being safe as well too. So it's been a pretty good month or kickoff to the beginning of September. So any questions for me?
The larcenies,
Yeah.
has that, because I assume those are juveniles?
We don't know, because.
You don't know, I think everybody in Hartford knows.
No, well, the thing is, with the investigation that's going on, we think that there's Sioux Falls people that came in. And I know we was actually stopped out with like 4 juveniles, and with the video surveillance that I was able to get, the sergeant that actually went out with those kids, he's like, nope, those are not the same kids.
So that same night, there was 2 different
Yeah,
wandering bands of,
Yeah,
really?
yeah. And from the video surveillance, it looked like there was about 8 people involved.
Have those 8 been apprehended?
We don't know, because there was another string of stuff that happened up in Garrettson that we may or may not think are related.
So the juveniles,
Possibly, we don't know.
the possible juveniles, it's led to believe that they weren't the ones involved in larceny?
None of those ones, we don't think.
Alright.
Yeah, we're still looking at that because it's kind of just a weird random hit. And then Garrettson also got hit like a week later. So it's just kind of interesting we think it's not like Hartford kids.
What's interesting is when you get a call at 6 in the morning from your neighbor saying that she's seen somebody pulling on your door handles at 1 in the morning,
Mm-hmm.
and she's calling you 6.
Yeah.
That's what's in it.
Wait, what's going on?
But apparently she was somebody that called in.
Yeah, that's true, because I looked, because I was trying to relate calls that were coming in, because there were 2 calls that came in at the same time regarding suspicious subjects. So,
It makes me wish I would've looked around a little bit better though,
yeah.
when I left.
Yeah, I can tell you it's an interesting, kind of thing that happened that morning. And like I canvassed the entire, basically from the 700 block of like Hartford all the way down to the 100 block looking for cameras. And I knocked on every single door, and a lot of people didn't have much. But then we had one guy who had really good footage that we were able to kind of get uploaded and send out to, like the PDs, say, hey, can anyone identify these people, kind of thing. But a lot of it, they were wearing hoodies, and they had beanies on, and so they made it really hard for us to identify them. So, but no, we really try to work at it, try to figure out who these people are, kind of thing. But I don't think they're Hartford kids, in my opinion, but I could be wrong.
I've noticed you've been sitting on Mickelson a little bit during the day.
Yeah.
I think now the school's going again, and I think the kids are figuring out that's a nice route. I think they leave the school, come out, and jump on Mickelson, because I can tell you, I've had a couple go past that they are flying when they go past. It's a beautiful road, I'm not, I mean, they are flying when they go past my house, I'm just telling you.
Yeah.
There was one this afternoon, I'm not kidding you, I heard him coming, and by the time I looked, he was at fire. So, he was rocking, I'm just telling you.
Yeah, so for us, we're trying to make sure that school zone
Yeah.
is safe as well too, and I'm trying to get out over to Opal and Crestman as well too, because I guess that's another area of concern for people flying through, so. On the bill and I are gonna try to coordinate just, as school just kinda opened up, we're just kinda seeing what we got here, but yeah, well, he's aware as well too of, because the new stop sign that's there on Crestman and Opal as well too, if there's people there aren't coming to stop there, so. But yeah, one thing I know is people know where we're at, and they'll go to where we're at.
That's true.
So, we're trying to be unpredictable as well too, so we're trying.
Do you have access to an undercover cruiser?
I would like to get, this is what I would dream of, is just having a vehicle that's unmarked, and except it has, like, if you hit a light with it, then the logo passes up, and kind of like what some of the state troopers have, is instead of having the light bar up top, it's all just inside the car.
I suspect that when somebody finds you, a mass text message goes out, telling everybody where you're at.
I would assume so.
So when you're at the school and Mickelson's clear, that's.
He's constantly approving them for Hartford happenings.
I am not approving of
Maybe the sheriff will let you use his car.
Yeah, I know, right, that'd be pretty.
Well, you guys are doing a great job. If I look at this and facts are friendly, the decrease of 5 in security checks is maybe offset by the increase of 5 in suspicious activities.
Yeah, because that could be also a self-initiative as well too, from deputies as well too, stopping out with people at night or, like at the school or whatever, just like, what are you guys doing at the school at the 12:30 at night?
What to do with it.
That's good. Any other questions?
Cool.
Do we expect you in civilian clothes now, or?
I wish. My wife and I were just looking at a house before coming here, so I had to look nice for the realtor and like to make people nervous. Oh, look at
You won't get a better price for it.
Some of the neighbors buy it.
Yeah. Well, thank you guys. So, Teresa and I were talking, and there's I guess a sheriff's phone, which I don't know what the phone number is, but we'll get that passed along to you guys. You guys can contact me directly if you guys have any questions, or if a patron comes to you guys and has a concern, then I can address it with you guys and take note of it, so.
Cool.
Yeah, sheriff's department isn't gonna, he's just using his personal phone now, that's why he emailed you just his email and his it sounds like the sheriff's department isn't gonna give them one,
Probably
but
not,
we
unless-
have one, so,
Yeah.
we'll give them that, and that way you guys can get that number, so.
Oh, good.
Yeah, so that, yeah, 'cause I don't see it happening, I'm not holding my breath, just because I'm a new, I've been on for about 2 years now, and I don't think they trust me yet. We're gonna pay for a cell phone bill, I don't know, let's wait till year 5, then we can.
You don't think they trust you with a cell phone?
No, I'm just saying, like, should we pay for his cell phone bill, because that's what they do, is they'll pay for.
I give them a taser and a gun, that's
Yeah, I got a taser and a gun.
We got this done.
There's a new charger, but the phone?
That's crossing the line, not doing it, breaking.
Assuming that they're even giving me bullets.
Yeah. It's hard to find 9mm right now if you guys are.
Jesse James just released
You wanna buy
Jesse
some?
James ammo, just today.
Really?
I had time to buy some.
Oh boy. I've been looking. Alright, well thank you guys so much, I'm gonna head on now, you guys have a good day and rest of your week, and see you next month.
Okay,
See ya.
You bet. Thank you.
Alright. Chamber Economic Development.
What Damien forgot to mention was our collaboration for a Coffee with the Coffee event that we live streamed. And we're gonna look at continuing that series and having more interaction with our deputy officers, and then also seeing whether we can get into like weird donut tasting competitions or exceedingly hot or hot wings, so that we can kind of create a little bit more humanity for our local police force. We're working on it.
Yeah, we are.
I wouldn't let him do that to you.
But yes, thank you. Thanks, Damien. So this last month was a pretty good month as far as interest in Hartford. Had a number of RFIs that we responded to, and then a lot of initiative from other entities within South Dakota and outside of South Dakota that contacted us directly or through the Kingdom of Kita to discuss the potential of locating here in Hartford. We actually worked with 2 specific RFIs that we responded to from GOED, and then had another 3 different entities that I'm working with on finding locations here within Hartford, and then meeting with builders and general contractors to actually design buildings. And we're getting pretty far along on that process. So we have a number of other local entities that are looking to expand and grow their businesses that we're having active conversations with and trying to see what we can do for them. So things are going pretty good on that side. Continuing to just respond to those RFIs as they come in, and then also look and see which businesses that we can continue to provide resources to. I have an individual with Dakota Business Finance that's coming in on September 10th, and she's going to be here all day, meeting with different businesses to talk about funding opportunities that they have available through CDOG and Dakota Business Finance to provide funds for different businesses that are looking to grow or expand their operations. So looking forward to working with some businesses on that. On the chamber side, we're continuing to work to update bylaws. Here in the next couple of days, we're going to be setting up the September direct mailer. And then in August, we did host the 3rd annual Chamber Golf Classic, which was a really good event. We had a lot of fun there. And just want to give a shout out to all of our sponsors. Thank them for their sponsorship of that great event. It's not possible without them and then without the groups that registered for teams. So thank you if you were a part of that. Again, with the chamber, we're continuing to work with the board on finding more marketing opportunities to just share what's happening in the community and get on Facebook and social media more and try to bring more value to those groups. We're in the middle of recording a video series for our different, some of the different levels of our membership for another Discover Hartford series. And instead of these longer kind of industry focused videos, we're going with individual business specific videos and going to push those out here in the next couple of months after we get more filmed. So working a lot on that, and as I mentioned, Coffee with the Cop, and just trying to bridge that gap between our police force and our citizens so that they can have a good relationship there. And then communicating with our legislators to try to see if we can start that legislative day program again. One thing I do want to discuss is here in about a week and a half, 2 weeks from tonight, the Dakota Resources Group is having a learning network gathering in Custer on the 15th and 16th, and I would like to seek the council's approval to attend that event. It's going to be focused on community engagement, which, given the current environment, is going to be critical to continue engaging our citizens in our community and to ensure that they still feel and have that engagement with us, not only as the business community, but as an area that's trying to really just maintain a sense of community and keep people's quality of life up during the given environment. So I'd like to seek the council's approval for that. There is a $100 registration fee, and then hotel costs would be like $125, $130 for the night at the hotel or the conference center that it's housed at. So I do want to seek the approval for that event, and that's, yeah, pretty much everything. It's keeping me busy. Busy. Yeah.
I need a motion to let it go, please.
Yeah, we need a motion for the conference.
Is it already event, so I gotta get approval?
Sound good, I'll make a motion.
Second.
To approve the travel and fees.
Discussion? Brennan?
Yep.
Monahan?
Yep.
Jones?
Yep.
O'Hara?
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you.
All right. Questions?
Looks like you got a lot of good stuff going on there.
We're working on it. There's a lot to be excited about coming up the pipeline. We hope that we'll be able to announce some of it soon. So,
I have a question.
yes, sir.
Is your tailgate broke?
Yeah. I can't get the latch back up.
I know, right? Because every time I drive by, I think, I wonder if he's trying to get me to hit that tailgate so we can.
I know. I need to.
Or I wonder if he's preparing to or just unloaded something big.
No, I need to take it off. Maybe someone has
Before you
time.
No, it's a Dodge.
It's a Dodge.
Yeah, I haven't had time the last couple of days, just with everything that's going on, to actually can grab everything and take it apart.
I was just curious, because every time I drive by it, your tailgate's down, and I think he either unloaded something really big or he's preparing to unload it.
I was thinking last night.
I got the tone up
I asked him if he was trying to increase his gas mileage, that's what I asked him last night.
It's kind of like a spoiler, you know?
Kind of off the record, I'm just curious.
Yeah. No, I tried to slam and shove, but it's not actually. Mark's experienced it.
I got one shot last time I was there, but.
So.
Did you only slam it once?
No, I repeatedly tried to lift it up and it's not working. If you want to give it a shot, you're more than welcome to. If you get it hooked up, I'll be happy.
You probably would approve the way I work on a Dodge.
Listen, I would rather have a Chevy, but
Well, I have a ratchet strap, and I guarantee you, I can find something to hook it to hold that tailgate.
probably.
All right. Any other
All right.
questions? We're good.
Game's running out of names for projects, that's a good sign. There's a lot.
Oh, there's a lot of them. Yeah, I got a full list, but I can go with more names.
Doing the hurricane mentality or sympathetically as they come in.
No, I try to relate it to whatever it's related to. I get creative with it.
Makes it fun. Makes it fun.
Yeah. When we start hitting like Greek gods and goddesses, then we're gonna have issues because then I'm running out of stuff.
Say, Mayor, should we have Gabe just a quick 30-second recap of the downtown Hartford meeting last night?
Yeah.
Just, you want to just give just a quick recap?
Yeah, and Mark, help me out if I miss anything since you are also in that group. So last night they had a conversation trying to engage with the different businesses downtown about their plans for this coming year, and then also how they are going to continue kind of funding their organization going forward. The plan for 2021 is to continue with a lot of the streetlights and the amenities for the visualization and the beautification of downtown, focusing on the 200 block, second block, reverse block of South Main, I guess is what it is. They call it block 2. So they're going to put up the lights, the banners, the flowers, and continue with that trend. And then we're also working with them on the facade program to help the different businesses in the downtown and signage to work on that kind of program. And then a big conversation that we're having is potential for more art style things in the downtown, which we're excited about. And then their big project that they would like to start kind of raising money for is a downtown like Pocket Park, and they have a cool little design for that. We can talk about that further when it gets more appropriate to that time, but it'd be a nice little spot in the downtown area for people to just come and relax with a nice water feature, maybe a mini splash pad or something for the kids, and really just nice environment downtown that would draw people in and give them a nice place to relax. Did I miss anything?
There's a lot of stuff discussed on this.
There's also, if you have questions, Ricky Kingsweiler, and then Sandy, and, or Callie, or Jessica Evans would be great people to talk to.
Do they have any plans to generate revenue other than what the city gives them?
Yes. Well, as the treasurer of that organization, Mark would be more suited for that.
There's a lot of grant
answer.
programs that they're looking into, which is kind of our big thing for most of it, because most of it, we're trying to figure out grants that fit what we're trying to do. That's probably the biggest thing right now. I mean, we're always looking to do events and stuff like that, but that's more day-to-day operations, because we know realistically, those aren't gonna make a lot of money where we're gonna be able to do something like that, but the grant process, we're pretty new to writing the grants and figuring out how we're going to go forward with that, but I think we're starting to figure that process out a little bit, and hopefully with more experience, we start figuring that out.
Yeah. No, I was impressed. I think they felt like they need to find some of those funds on their own in a lot of cases, and they even had discussions about bequeathing funds, about, having people put it in their will so that, there could be the,
Yeah.
in memoriam of the Keogh family or something like that, anything like that. Well, just in case, if you wanna start early, get that in your will. But, I think they definitely put their time in thinking about raising funds.
Cool. Yeah, they got a good core, I think, yeah. It's good to see them excited about downtown, so.
Gotta get the HADF to help them out by getting some more businesses downtown.
That'd really be nice.
Working on it.
Make it easier to do the rest of it.
Right.
And I think one of the other things I'll mention is they have a big focus on some of the different historical elements within Hartford, especially with the number of Civil War veterans that we have buried here in the community, and the individuals from Old Hartford. Martin can fill you in more on that.
Zing! That goes back to the tailgate shot. I asked him that same thing.
Thanks, Gabe.
Okay, you're done. Go back to the kids' table.
Alright, any questions based on that? Any questions for Gabe? Alright, we're gonna move over to Mitch, our engineering part.
Good evening, everyone.
Hi, Mitch.
Had a few things in my report I wanted to touch on. We got a couple action items for pay applications on the 9th and Route Oakland Lane intersection. I wanted to kind of touch on 9th and Route. 9th Street's going really well. The contractor was on schedule. We're actually running under budget on that project, so we're pretty happy with that one out there. We did have one item just this past week that came up with the driveway approaches to Beaverville and to the apartments there. We found that they had steel inside of them. So we talked to Craig and Teresa about just adding steel back into those, so that added a little bit of expense to the project, but overall we're saving. We didn't have to use some of our subgrade stabilization. We were anticipating running into some mucky areas and didn't have any trouble with that, so we're absorbing that cost of those approaches and that item essentially, so everything's going pretty well there.
You say there was steel in there, there was like reinforcements.
Yeah, rebar,
Yeah.
reinforcement steel.
Okay.
And the Beaverville, they got some larger trucks coming in out there, so we wanted to make sure that was put back to kind of what they had. And the apartments had, garbage trucks coming in there, and they had steel in it too, so.
Okay.
We run into that every once in a while on jobs, and we just like to try to get them back, kind of what they had, so.
Okay.
Root and Opal is turning into kind of a small, difficult little project for those guys out there. As far as the contractors going, the work's been okay. They've had some conflicts with private utility companies, so that project's been delayed probably about a week, just because there was some fiber lines in the way. There was a power line that was in the way, and light pole that had to shift, so we knew some of the light poles had to shift in that, but once we dug things up, we found that some of this underground infrastructure was in the way too, so I had to spend some time waiting for them to relocate those facilities. The subgrade out there has been really wet, and so I suspect that's kind of part of the reason why we're having trouble with that intersection to begin with, because the grade has been really wet under there. We're monitoring the asphalt on there. If you remember, it's kind of rattling on the surface, and our hope was that we could mill that off and the bottom lift would be intact and we can put a top lift back on it. We picked some of it off and we're finding that even that bottom lift is deficient. So we haven't milled that all off yet, but we're gonna mill it and see what we got underneath there, but it might be something where to really address it, we're gonna have to take that full depth out too, which is gonna add some expense to the project. So we're trying to work through those, things right now. There's still kind of question marks out there, but just I wanna make sure you guys are all aware of kind of what we're finding out there.
You think we're gonna have 100% overrun on gravel?
No.
Okay, good. Just wanted to beat Mark to the punch.
I'm curious, did we know that the storm sewer infrastructure was bad under that? Before we dug it up?
Well, the storm sewer infrastructure wasn't necessarily bad, but it was heaving in there, we feel, and because it's fairly shallow through that intersection. And so what we did is we felt we needed to pull it out and go to a shallower arch pipe, so it's a wider, not so tall pipe, and then put more rock and foundation underneath those pipes so they wouldn't heave as much.
But that was part of the design?
Yep, that was part of the design. We did use a little bit more rock underneath those pipes than we had planned going into it, but I think the asphalt will end up being, if we have to take full layers of asphalt out, that'll be a little spendy on that job, so. We got unit prices for it all, but we're gonna start evaluating, how much that could affect the budget.
There's some geo map going in there, some that,
Yep.
using that fabric.
In the intersection, yeah. And then if we end up taking that asphalt out, further outside that intersection, we'll use. Actually, we're really hoping that the gravel stays intact, and it stays stable, so we don't even have to get any gravel. But again, we'll be monitoring that.
Who makes the call on whether the first lift stays or goes?
Well, Craig and I will look at it and we'll run it through city staff first, but it's something that we don't want to be able to get contact right away.
Because you know what my fear is? My fear is somebody's gonna say, yeah, we can save that first lift and put a lift on top of it, and then somebody's readdressing this problem
3 or 4 or 5
years from now. And I don't want somebody calling me a tightwad or a moron,
Right.
because the whole thing can get fixed.
Yeah. I'll be looking at it, Craig will be looking at it. We'll probably, once we get it milled off, we'll see if we can see any delamination at the surface. We might run a couple trucks on it just to see if it's deflecting on us, and then make some decisions on that.
Do you have any history, any record of when that lift went down, when the second lift went down, who the contractor was, any of that? Does that stuff exist?
Yes.
Well, yeah,
Yeah, we've got records in our office. I do know, the contractor, we got records of the contractor. When the first lift was put down, I believe the second lift might have gone on during the time that we weren't here as city engineer. So I don't know that I have records on that. But I know I've got something on when the first lift went down, and I believe it's Running Enterprise was the general contractor on the project.
Yeah, there was some Kruger asphalt that went down one frosty morning.
That was South
Main, yeah.
And that's
On a
actually-
Saturday morning, I think it was.
Yeah, it was Saturday.
Yeah, it was on a weekend, and they did it when nobody was around. I remember that.
I should know this, but how long has this lasted? What's it been?
10 years or so.
10 years? Okay.
So, with that, I just wanted to update you on those items on those two projects, but maybe we can go to the pay apps quick. 9th Street, we've got 45% done by way of the amount of work that they had in place, I guess, at this point. We're retaining 10% on the contract, and we recommend payment in the motion.
I'll make a motion to approve pay application 2 for 9th Street improvement project.
Rude, we have pay app there as well for Zacharias again. This pay app number 1, 10% of the work is roughly complete at this time. 10% being retained, so we recommend approval of that as well.
Make a motion for pay application number 1 for road improvements.
Second. Discussion.
So was that about 190, is that right?
Dollar amount?
Yeah, 190, wasn't that the total contract on that, or what?
I think we had
For
like
renewal is
180 budgeted, didn't we?
It's 150 is their contract.
150 is there.
But we have engineering up
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Them good old engineering fees.
Oh. Now, okay, now the numbers add up. Okay.
Yeah.
There we go.
Any other questions or discussion?
There was some deflection there.
I did notice a little bit, when they ran the truck over me, I noticed a little. Yikes.
So we have a motion or not?
We do.
O'Hara?
Yes.
Keel? Yes. Brennan?
Yes.
Joe?
Yes.
I'm on it.
Two other items I wanted to update on. Vandermark punch list of items there. It sounds like they're gonna start working those concrete items next week. So they'll come and repair those curb repairs, sidewalk repairs. I think they've done some sawing a while ago. So they'll come and tear those out, put them back. And then I've been talking to people up and down there. And I talked to the golf course, Mike Smith there. And they're gonna, what Mike thought we should do is spray for weeds once and then fertilize, come back and overseed. So that's what we're planning to do on that stretch. I've notified everybody along there. So as soon as they're done with the concrete work, they're gonna come in and do that. So,
You asked the turf guy how to take care of the turf.
He was just afraid that if they tilled it, it'd just turn back into weeds again.
Yeah, I didn't want him coming back after me.
It's Dallas grass, I mean, that's what's primarily there, or something.
You know, I don't know.
It's nasty.
Yeah, it's just junk grass, whatever it had to be. But, some of it's annual, you know, a boxtail that might come up and dies off after a year. That stuff dies off real easy with some spray.
Sure. Okay. Sounds good.
And then on Nicholson Road, we did conduct some warranty inspections. It's 1 year warranty time. So we had our guys go through and do inspections. We've sent the list off the contractor. We did include, if you go across the box culvert, you'll notice it's got a little bit of settlement. You can feel that box culvert as you go through, which isn't uncommon for a structure like that. So we've noted that on there. We're asking them to come back next year so we get another year's of, we actually have a 2 year warranty on that. So we're noting it now, asking them to come back next spring after another freeze thaw, so we hope to get some more settlement on it. Mill it, get it so it's smooth again, and then Craig will be scheduling his seal coat on top of that as well. The other thing on that project is we've got our responses back, or comments back from FEMA on Wilmar, so we're starting to review those and update those documents as well too.
See, there's still one easement remaining on the sanitary sewer extension.
Yep, and we've got a meeting scheduled with that, Tom's helping, with that easement. So we have a meeting scheduled a couple weeks away, 14th. So I'll be attending that with Tom and Teresa, and hopefully get some progress on that.
We're gonna meet with the property owner, his engineer, his attorney as well, and see if we can hammer out an agreement so we can get those easements. He's asked for a lot of things in return for the easement, so we'll see what makes sense and what doesn't.
At what point do you share that information with the city council?
As far as what he asked him for.
Or who's the delay?
Who's the delay? Their end. Who's the delay? It's on their end, the property owner.
Yeah, but when do you share that with the city council? Who that is? Does anybody know who that is? No, we do not. So that's my question.
Oh,
At what point do we get to
yes,
find out who that is?
gotcha. Well, I don't think it's any secret, it's a DEH, so it's Bill Hogan's property there. Because we have Central States and we have the property owner north of the sports complex, of course, in the city. And we got the township, property, so it's just that.
We decided we're back in the east ditch. I was thinking we were still in the west
We
ditch.
looked at the west ditch, but because we couldn't seem to come to an agreement fairly well. And the west ditch had littered with utilities and a rural water line over there as well.
Okay. Because the photo I keep looking at keeps looking like it's the west ditch, and that's where I'm just like,
It does show that.
it's really pushed to the west on that. part.
Yeah.
That's why I was like,
You're right, I'll get that updated.
okay.
Hey, I have a question for Tom. Tom, is there a way to, similar to force annexation is there a way to force easement?
Yes,
What's the time frame on that process?
and you can go through a condemnation.
What's the time frame?
Well, you can do a quick condemnation where you go ahead and take the property and then fight over the value of the taking at a later time.
But if it's just a temporary easement, or would it be a permanent?
There's be a permanent,
Permanent.
so, I mean, that would be a few months to get to go ahead and prove up the public purpose, but then you have a battle over.
So
the
then ultimately a jury or a judge would set the price on it.
Correct. I think we're not terribly far apart, there's just some semantics that we figured we need to have a face-to-face to get ironed out. What they're asking is realistic, I think, from Mitch's perspective, so,
But there's more options than just them saying no.
yes.
Super.
The force account always seems to have a maps land and plat review. Are they continually changing their plats?
Well, no, they
They're
tend to
just-
plat one lot at a time,
Okay,
rather than a group of.
sure, okay, that's,
Once they get a sale pending, I think they issue a plat for that lot.
gotcha. What's that cost us roughly?
It's, I spend probably an hour and a half on it myself.
Yeah, like almost a
Couple-
top tier there. So that's pricey.
Yeah, a couple $100 each time.
Thank you.
Mitch is loving us tonight.
I get it done twice as fast.
Good answer.
Just a full of zingers.
Wow. Top row.
You
said no.
enjoy it.
All right, any other questions for Mitch?
Thank you, Mitch.
Yep. Thanks, man.
Yep, thank you. That tailgate on this Ford works just fine, by the way. Jeez. The tailgate on this thing works just fine, right? All right, Craig.
We'll kind of go through a couple things real quick, I ain't got much to add. One thing is just gonna say about for Jamboree Day Stockwell's guys are gonna try to help us out again this year. They've helped with beer sales in the past and helped do some stuff like that, and then they are looking at bringing their drone down too to take some overhead pictures, so thank them guys for that.
Thank you.
Sage Road lift station, we did have the pump go down last night, noticed that it only had like 0.2 hours on it. Got that tore apart, well, we replaced it this morning, got that done, so it's all back up running. We'll be taking the old one back and take it down and see, I think it's just dead short the motor in it, so we'll see if we have to replace the motor over there. So we're getting that fixed, so we always keep one spare on hand, so that if we ever go down, we can get it flipped out as quick as we can, so. And then one other thing is, sports complex. I didn't hear back from Lindsay with Reliabank, and they are willing to, donate $100 per tree for both fields, so. So we'll be looking at options, whether go with smaller trees or pay the difference and get bigger trees like what Mike plants in the boulevard, so. That's something we'll be looking into here, see what, won't happen until spring, so. There's just no trees available, so.
I think Mike's quote was around, if I remember, right, 2,500.
Yeah, it'd be about $2,500 more, I think.
Yeah, and, well, I think it was like 2,500 if I remember right, and then
Per
the,
field, yeah.
oh, that per field, oh,
So
okay.
it's like 17 trees and about $170 a tree or whatever, so.
So we get like 1,500 for the grant, so then.
How much do you budget, Craig, for boulevard trees?
6,000 for Boulevard, and then we always budget some for replacement trees in the park.
So just, hypothetically, why don't we just not do the boulevard project 1 year and just put that money? Why don't we not do $6,000 worth of boulevard trees and do $6,000 worth of trees up there, plus whatever Rely Bank's kicking in and get a tree, not a stick, let's put some trees up there. Just a thought.
That's something we definitely look at. I know, like I said, Mike puts his orders in. This came in kind of late, so he would have to just shop around. He thinks he found trees if this is what we go with later or whatever. But like I said, we can, figure out, there's options out there that Rely Bank suggested that plant our trees ourselves and save some money, but then we don't get the warranty with them, which is pretty crucial with trees
Well,
nowadays.
did he already order $6,000
No,
for boulevard?
he orders trees and then has them ready, so if we do the
Oh.
boulevard, I mean, if he doesn't, he can either back on them or he can, sell them outright.
I don't know, that's just my thought.
But yeah, our cost would be, so they'd be kicking in about $3,400, and I think I got the numbers here somewhere, but Rely Bank would pay $3,400 toward trees, and it'd be like $2,500 for us. And like I said, I know we budget some money for parks anyway, for every year, just to replace some trees in parks, so. We'll figure, we'll get real close, we'll look into it, see which way's the best way to go, so.
Like I said, that's just my opinion.
Yep.
I mean,
No,
whatever.
because you go first come, first serve, and once you run out of trees on the boulevard trees anyway, or run out of money on that, you're done, right? So it's not like we're gonna do $12,000 for boulevard trees next year, we'll just wait on the list, right?
The trees, right now, I think it's 34 is what we're looking at, putting it around the outside fences of the ones. I think that's always safe in here, put in at this time, with all the construction that's gonna be going on. To put another row back, we'd be getting in that drainage area, so kind of looked it over pretty close, see what it is, but I think that 34 trees is all we wanna put out at the sports complex this next year.
That's my concern, is we get a little bit ahead of ourselves and either have to hire a tree mover, or we just.
Yeah, we'll work, put them in, they'll be safe. So,
Perfect.
there will be a lot of construction, so.
But to Mark's point, you know, an area that could use trees, and people complain about being an eyesore is our tree leaf dump and our, you know, dirt piles and stuff, and we've talked different times about maybe planting some trees along there to buffer that.
Right along that ridge between there and the bike trail.
Yeah, I would support giving up the boulevard trees for 1 year to throw some trees in that area.
So, yeah, that's. I know we do have a few already on the list for next year, trees that we've taken down that we put right back on the list if they want them. So we do have a few, probably 4 or 5 right now from,
Not too many.
yeah, small ones, so. And I'll look into this a little bit more at the sports complex and just see what other options we do that before. Like I said, nothing will happen until spring, is what we're looking at doing, so I'm sure that's what Rely Bank is kind of planned. That's what in my grant, I didn't tell her that trees are not available at this time, so we're in the spring to get them in, so. That's all I got in my report, unless somebody's got anything for me.
I thought I had after the budget meeting was, if we had a master list of like your equipment, and when you anticipate phasing, rotating that out. I mean, we hear about it from you regularly, but to see that, like our CIP plan, it would help me visualize the dollars. So how much money is that taking? How much equipment does the city actually own? What all of a sudden you start tallying up how much overhead that is.
Do we keep like a depreciation
We have
schedule like that?
Asset list.
Yeah, we have an asset list, we have, Craig would have to add in when he rotates it, but yeah, it'd be easy enough to take the list we got and have him pencil in when he sees it phasing out.
You're just looking for a replacement schedule, basically.
Yeah, asset list replacement schedule
Yeah,
and stuff, because every year budget times, it's always,
Yeah.
it feels like a surprise, like, Oh, yeah, I've kind of been talking about that, but, geez, it's got,
I'll
is
tell
there
you
a
which
better
we all
way of
have,
doing
what year
this?
it is, and, yeah.
I don't want you guys to think about it too much.
That's why we don't have it. Now the truth comes out right there.
I'm somewhat jealous, you got 2 car trailers and they're both nicer than mine, I'm just like, what the heck are you using 2 car trailers for? Maybe I'm looking to see those go on the excess inventory.
The thing about Craig though is he mentioned the mower this year, he really wants it 3 years from now.
Yeah, he
So
set
he
this up.
plants the seed. He rarely gets it the same year. He plants a seed, he waters the
Somebody's
seed.
been on the council waiting.
You know what he's doing too, yeah, he's been here long enough too, you know, so.
He's been talking about that Dodge truck for 4 years.
It feels like he pretty much gets what he wants.
Yeah, that's the thing.
I have a question for you, Craig. Is there any plan to raise the manhole covers?
Yep.
When?
I am looking into it, I found, I need to measure the depths on them and the size, because apparently they don't make a one size fits all for an extension in them, without having to cut the whole street, lift it off, and put adjustments in it. So they make a one that sits inside, but I gotta get all the heights and everything like that for them also. I called last week, I just haven't had time to get the measurements done, so.
I heard a truck drive into one of those and it sounded like a head-on collision.
Yeah,
And I
there's-
looked down there, it turns out it was just an old Chevy. But you'd think that the box fell off of it, it made so much noise. But those ones on Fifth Street, I bet they're 3 inches deeper.
Yeah, I gotta get the measurements, like I said,
All right.
at one time, I know we could get these ones that slip inside that were real nice.
We're gonna do that this year?
No, they want them all to be measured exactly so you can get size.
We're gonna do that this year yet?
Yeah.
On that note, I was walking up Vandemark and looking at the slurry seal job. I thought to myself, how many years can you do that? Keep adding that slurry seal
About
before you have to
2.
come in and mill it off.
Eventually, you're gonna mill it off. I'm thinking like the ones we did this year, in 8 years, we'll probably schedule them to get milled.
Sure.
And re-overlaid.
Okay.
So as I said, you just keep adding and adding and adding otherwise.
Yeah, it looks,
The
yeah,
chip
it kind
seals-
of rolls off to the curb.
Yeah.
Pretty thick in some spots.
Yeah, the chip seals they didn't seem like they lasted long enough to have to worry about them building.
Sure.
Where the shears actually put a ½ inch on them
Yeah,
about every time.
sure.
So the ones we did this year, that's our second time, so after this, we'll probably look at doing a mill on them, so. But average streets, they're talking, 10 to 15 years ago, the average street was only supposed to last 20 years, that should have been tore up and redone, or complete mill and overlay. We've got streets that are going on 20-some plus years right now, and they're still in fairly decent shape, so.
I wanna say Fifth Street in front of my place was done in the late 90s.
Yeah, the first ones that got done were part of Fighter and Fourth. That was like in 95, 96.
Yeah. 'Cause I think mine got done in 99.
Yep. Right around.
So I think it's held up really good. It's really.
The year should have actually been done later because they did sewer up there and we could have got a little more depth on Vandemark if we'd have done Vandemark first.
I don't think I was around back there and I had to crack some skulls. But
All right, any other questions? All right, thanks, Greg.
Yep.
Karen, anything to add to your report?
No.
No?
We just got boring numbers, so we don't have any just fun stuff to talk about.
Good job on all of this, thank you. Any questions for Karen? All right, Maureen or Teresa?
Just to point out on the report, we now have the deed for the property that's south of Railroad Street, right on 38 there. We got that from the school property there, so we own that property now. Billboard agreements, we have terminated. We had agreements, 2 agreements with Blue 42 for the 2 billboards out there. They're the eastbound ones. Never had a vinyl on them. He's running them for almost 2.5 years and nothing's ever been on them. This last 6 months though, he has not made any payments and we've tried to get payments out of him. He had paid and his checkbook balance, and we'd have issues and problems. So, a month ago, I sent him a notice that we need to have payment on those. We didn't receive it, so I actually talked with Tom, and we are terminating that agreement, because right now, he owes $960 on each of them. His security deposit's only $1,000, and I didn't want to get above that deposit, because then we'd be going backwards. So, talked with him, he's fine with that, he says he's not gonna pay or do anything, so he's terminating it, so. On the flip side though, we do have, Central States is going to be renting one billboard out there, billboard number 5, so that agreement will be coming to you. So basically we'll have about 3 though blank billboards going east, that we'll have to, maybe do a little more advertising. We threw it out to the chamber a couple times, the members there. Maybe we can do something on Facebook or whatnot, to see if we can get some of those rented, especially now that we've lowered the rent to the only $150 a month. Maybe we can get some Sioux Falls businesses interested in it.
You said game out to like just run up and down like North Cliff or?
Yeah, yeah.
And start knocking on doors. So with the Central States taking one, there's still 3 available?
Yes, there'll be.
Because they're in the Hartford Hometown Christmas billboard, right?
And that's the one Central States is gonna
That's the one they're
take.
going on,
So
yeah.
then we got the 2 Blue 42, and there was one other one free with it, so.
Yeah. Is there any land along I-90 further east of there that the city owns that we could put some additional billboards on to generate some additional revenue? And charge more for some more westbound billboards, those seem to be quite popular.
I think we've got all the city land, because billboards with the DOT, they've gotta be so far apart or
What
whatnot.
about
I
if
think
you
we've
look
got.
further east?
We don't own any more ground further east.
Yeah, we do.
Oh, we do? Oh. Further east, just knock me over. Yeah. Further. Yeah, there's possibility there. And I actually have a waiting list for the westbound for, businesses in Hartford that want. I've got 3 on a waiting list that they want the westbound, so.
As a city, don't have a lot of opportunity to generate revenue, but.
We're gonna get a lot of money though for street assessment, because we've got about another 1.5 to 2 miles we're gaining.
So, I mean, that is a thought for our future though.
Your way of thinking.
So, yeah, something to keep in mind. We'll be having a work comp audit on the 16th in here. We'll also be switching over to our new phone system that week. And the last thing I'm going to report that I kind of want to touch base on is that we know the state is going to be doing the interstate bridge in 2025, and so we have in our CIP, and we've been planning that that's probably a good time for us to do improvements on Western Avenue between there and Mickelson Road. The state wants to move forward with their preliminary engineering, and they contacted me last Thursday and said we can be part of that if we want to. They have contracted with, I think, HR Green to do the engineering, and they would do the city's portion of it too, and of course we have to still pay for our portion of it, but they would include it all in one. Or we can have our own engineers do our portion, and they would work in conjunction with HR Green in the project. So the state really just needs to know what our thoughts and feelings are, if we want to have the one engineer include the city portion of it, or if we want to utilize our own engineer for that. I did contact Shannon Schultz with the county today to see what the county's doing on the south side, because they are also gonna be, doing some improvements on the county road, basically to the industrial site, the entrance into there. With this one, Shannon kind of indicated they'll just use, it's such a small portion that they're just gonna use the state engineer. But they have done it both ways in the past, maybe with larger ones, used their own. He says, me and Craig kind of talked, even if we go with the state, we still probably want our engineers to look over it. They're more familiar with what we need and what we have, so we'd still have probably some payment there. So I don't know, I guess I'm looking for your.
That wouldn't necessarily generate a whole nother contract, would it? Would that be small enough that it could be force account, or would it have to be a separate contract with Stockwell?
I think it's gonna be a fairly big
It'd be a big
design.
project, and,
I mean, it'd be like a Vandermark Avenue probably,
yeah.
stretch of it.
So we're talking all the way from Diamond all the way to 38.
Mickelson,
Mick-
no,
Mickelson
Mickelson
would
Road.
actually be about 100 feet north probably of Mickelson Road, so that you can make that transition to that,
Yeah,
to
you
either
have
one
to,
street. And then you'd be up to where the state would take over.
That's in 2012, I suppose that design work starts in 2021.
it'll be starting next year, the state's
The
gonna
design.
start
Just missed our budget.
design, yeah, so.
Yeah.
Yeah, just have,
I don't,
I got the phone call Thursday, so.
Yeah, obviously, we
Okay.
really wanna do the work for you guys. I mean, there's gonna be a utility portion of that too, that would be brought into that project. We just, we know the area best. We just as soon leave that project for you guys. That's my 2 cents. And then, and to be in a review, situation, you're really adding that on top of the project. We feel we could design a corridor just as well as anybody and marry it with the DOT's plan and put it together as one package.
So where does the DOT plan stop? How far from the off-ramp heading north, how far does their plan stop?
So if I remember right, they have jurisdiction, just to almost a diamond trail. Okay.
So just past the coffee cup entrance?
Yeah, just past, I think it's actually, if you remember where the coffee cup.
The west end or the east? Are they lined up?
They lined
They're
up.
lined up now.
Yeah. You remember where the old coffee cup
Yeah.
entrance was? That's almost right where the
Oh,
jurisdiction
okay.
is. So that's where their old project would go to, and then your project would pick up there and extend Nicholson Road, and, that's a good project, and we'd really appreciate talking.
And we do that work in 2025 with the state. Yeah.
That's part of that. So are they planning on widening that out and coming off there with turn lane and?
I don't know, we've seen some concepts.
I think there's turn lanes and everything. I think they're looking at just a 3-lane road, with turning lanes in
Yeah.
the center. And then,
So they're gonna come off the Interstate 3 lane, and we can take it as far as we wanna take it,
Yeah,
and then you throw it back down.
Yeah, and we've been thinking, that we'd widen that corridor to the 3-lane. For the time being, it's probably doesn't have the traffic to support a 4-lane system through there.
Right.
Or anything like that. Again, there's utilities to be considered and whatnot through there too.
Is there, if the state does it, they're just gonna charge us too, right? Like, it's not free engineering versus.
Yeah, unfortunately.
It's not like,
we tried.
Yeah,
but
I mean,
it's not like we're giving up free engineering over here.
right, no, I mean, if the state does it, they'll just, just have the one engineer, but we'd get charged our portion of it. I mean, so it's still gonna be whatever that cost is for it.
How does it work? I don't know that have we ever had a project like that where we let some other entity design?
I'm gonna say, I don't think we've ever had one where we've had to work with the state or.
Because as I sit here and think about it, if the state designs to just short of Diamond, and we pick it up and go to Nicholson, I assume really, because we're not gonna tell the state, I don't suspect we're gonna tell the state anything about the width, about the grade, about nothing. They're just gonna design it how they wanna design it.
We've had a lot of discussion with them prior.
Are they open? I mean, are they
Yeah.
open for
Yeah, I
conversation?
think
Because
so.
they asked us if we thought urban or rural, if they could curve,
Yeah.
got it all the way through it all. And,
Yeah.
they were taking all of our suggestions and
Yeah,
working.
they had their public input, they were considering roundabouts there for a while.
Whatever the whole roundabout.
I really wanted to
So we're not getting the roundabout?
Well, the governor came down.
Governor shut that down.
Governor said no.
Which one?
After all their.
Christie don't do it.
But now,
Christie Nome shut down the
They've been-
roundabout?
across the state.
Yep.
And I
They tried
just
them
heard
and I
about
don't
this
think
now.
they're liking the results. of some of them, so.
We get on Facebook here.
Yeah, she put a moratorium on them.
And I talked
So after
with,
that guy was killed up in Watertown,
I don't know. I don't really know the reasoning.
actually not conducive to horse traders maybe.
and I talked with the state and the project manager. The state doesn't care, they just basically want to know so they can get their agreements in place or whatnot of what we do. Because they said they have done it both ways, they have worked with other cities and basically cities have their own engineer and they've had an engineer, they do the portion. The state would bid it all out in a package, but there'd just be like exactly,
We do it all
two
with-
bids in one package in the state, so.
Yeah, we've done it with Sioux Falls a lot, where the only difference it becomes as, it'll look like a DOT set as long as they put it in their format, which we're familiar with, we're on their list of design engineers. So that's the only thing that,
So we avoid a situation like T has, we assess the property owners along there?
sure could.
Sure, yeah, I guess
No, I said, so we avoid the situation.
That's your decision, then. Any project.
Sure could, as we follow suit.
Right. Yeah.
They charge $300 a foot,
Yeah, they did,
north-south corridor,
Yep.
if I understand correctly, and they're charging,
on the east-west corridor too.
so they're 300 a foot there as well.
Yep.
Well, all right, so
Our assessment policy is only $100.
My last question in regards to this, or statement, or comment is, at what point is there an honest discussion that could be had with the state about making that, and I said it kind of in jest, but more sincerely, about making that an alternate route for Highway 19? Where does that discussion start? How do you validate even the topic?
We've talked to the state a few times about possibly having that into a state highway, and they want nothing to do with it.
Of course, they don't want anything to do with it, but
They don't want people.
how do you,
Sounds like you gotta get to know the governor.
right? I mean, do you submit traffic counts, do you talk to property owners, what's the process?
Traffic counts would be your probably one, but I think, I just think you'll have a hard time getting them.
Sure. Because the county has no money,
Right.
so they're not gonna help us improve that corridor.
Yeah.
But it's literally a corridor to what we're proposing for an industrial park. All right, that's all I got.
I did happen to, so the gal we Trish was talking to the DOT happens to be the mayor in Lennox, who I represent over there too. She told me she needed a decision tonight, or,
Well, she told me she wanted something within the next week or so. She wanted one as soon as she can get one. 'Cause she didn't tell me tonight, but I said we'd be discussing it tonight, and I'd get back to her on our thoughts.
My personal feeling is that if we just get in bed with the state, we're just gonna get this, whatever the state gives us, down to Nicholson. And then we're gonna, I truly believe that we're gonna pay Stockholz to look at it. And then if there's a couple red flags that Stockholz doesn't like, then you're dealing with a state engineer. I think that's just I think that's a recipe it's a recipe for disaster myself, but.
No, I'm with you there too, and I believe that that's just that stretch from Coffee Cup to.
That's kind of ugly too. That's kind of an ugly stretch.
We don't wanna just cookie cutter approach to that area there. I mean, not saying to get all crazy with the design, not saying that, but we're just like, it's important.
I know in my bones what has to happen.
From what, I mean, the ditches are going away, right?
No, not if we're just talking a widening, we'll still have a rural section.
They'll still be rural.
Yeah.
Because I know when Nicholson got talked about years ago, that's what they were talking about, filling, no more ditches, filling it in. And it was, the thought of that, it's just, I mean, that's a big project.
The corridor needs some more streetlights for sure,
Yep.
at a minimum. It's not very safe as it is.
Yep.
But,
That's
so,
my 2 cents.
back to the paying money up here, Yep. The state's going to design it to Nicholson, or just to
If we
that.
go with- Right.
And then they're gonna, when they let that for bid, that's gonna be an alternate. So what does our plan with Stockwell's look like? You guys would obviously bring to us a budget, a number, a package, and say it's gonna cost us $85,000 to design from Diamond Trail to Nicholson.
Yes, and so the reason the DOT is asking you is because they need to set up a project number and all these things because it's gonna be what they call, it's like a joint bid or something like that, because it's 2 plans that get bid as one project.
Yeah,
So you end
that's
up with
what
the same
they did to
contractor
me.
under.
Sure.
Yeah, it's one project, but it'd be 2 plans within it, yeah, so.
Anybody opposed to, we don't have an action item, we're not making a motion, but anybody opposed to making sure city engineers have a seat at the table on that one? I would think so. Okay. That's good. Okay. Anything else, Teresa? in your report?
Nope, nothing I have.
Questions for Teresa?
Just, you and Karen going on vacation together? Just
No, she did invite me, so.
Coincidence.
No, she's
Just
going-
coincidence. She's going on vacation, I'm going to the truckers
Conference.
conference.
I want no part of
Same
that.
thing.
Yeah, I want the same thing.
Both sound like heaven.
Yeah.
All right, we got nothing under old business, and under new business, we've got appointments for city engineer and city attorney. They was having the first meeting in September. So, with that, city attorney, I'd like to make the appointment of Freeburg, Nelson, and Ask to stay on as their city attorney. And then we would just need a motion and a second to approve that appointment.
Motion to approve Freeburg Ask as our city attorney.
Second. Discussion. Vote. O'Hara? Keel?
Yes.
Monahan?
Yeah.
Jones?
Yep.
And Rowland.
Yes.
Alright. And under city engineer, I would like to appoint Stockwell Engineers as our city engineer. And, I do think when we work on our agreement, which really kind of spells out how we do it, I would like to see some conversation around, how we make decisions on large projects going forward. And I don't know what defines large, how many minutes it is or what that is, but I think it would be in the city's interest to have a conversation about that when we start to look at your agreement and some of that, which kind of spells out over a certain dollar amount, we do an RFQ, or we do this, or we do that, or we have the right to do an RFQ, those kinds of things. Not that we have to, but that we could. So, with that, my appointment's Stockwell Engineers. City engineer.
I'll make a motion. Second.
Motion and second. Discussion? Okay, vote. Monahan?
Yeah.
Jones?
Yes.
Berman?
Yes.
Keel?
Yes.
And O'Hara?
Yes.
All right. Thank you. I don't think we have anything else under correspondence. We do need to go into executive session for legal. Don't believe anything for personnel.
Motion to go into executive session. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed or abstaining?
You know, I can remember about 7-8 years ago, when
Can't look at your county.
I used to tell Larry congratulations.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.